A couple years back, my wife and I threw a Halloween party for our kids and a few of their friends. The deal was we'd entertain the kids until around 8 that evening, then they'd head off to their respective friends' houses to finish their nights off with Halloween sleepovers. But in turn, that allowed my wife and I to throw a grown-up Halloween party. It had been both our favorite holidays growing up, and since we'd promised to spend the holidays with my wife's side of the family, we threw the All Hallows Eve bash to spend some time with mine. It was definitely a family affair, just not quite wholesome enough to warrant having the kids in the house. Anyway, the party's fantastic. Everyone has a great time, and my parents had agreed to spend the night in our spare rooms, so they didn't have to worry about driving or getting a cab home. That meant my father and I ended up huddled up around the fire pit at around 1 in the morning, finishing off any beer that we could find while making each other laugh and telling each other stories. Then, at some point, I asked Dad if he knew any spooky campfire stories. I wasn't seriously asking him, it was more like I asked him sort of half-jokingly because it was technically still Halloween night. But then, as it turned out, Dad did have a creepy story to tell me, one he'd somehow kept secret from me for almost 35 years. My dad grew up in small-town Ohio, and he eventually moved back to Cincinnati where he met my mom and had us kids. But for college, my dad went to UC Irvine, which is out in California, about 30 miles south of LA. He said that he loved it out there. He knew that he wanted to come home at some point, but said his days as a beach bum are some of the most treasured memories of his youth. I knew that already, of course, but what I didn't know was that my dad used to date some smoking hot windsurfer chick that he met on Newport Beach. He said that during the summer of 1982, his buddies and him headed down to the beach to throw a ball around when they saw the sign advertising windsurfing lessons. The two instructors were this tall, wiry, dark-haired guy and then this absolute fox with a mess of golden blonde hair, stunning eyes, and this deep, rich tan from all her time spent in the sun. My dad said that he and his buddies found a spot for their stuff and then started to throw the football around. But all Dad did was walk off towards the windsurfing instructors and talk his way into getting a lesson from old Blondie. Dad said he hated windsurfing, but that it was a great way to get close to the instructor. And then once he was satisfied that there was mutual attraction, he asked her out and they started dating. Dad said that she seemed wonderful at first, but that after about a month of seeing each other, he realized that she was in some weird love triangle with her roommate and some professional windsurfer that she'd met on a trip to Hawaii. My dad explained that at first he'd trusted that the roommate was just that, a roommate. But over time it became pretty obvious that they were romantically involved. Blondie told my dad that they used to have a thing together, but that they were nothing more than roommates by that time and that he didn't have to worry. Dad said that he wanted to believe her, but by the time the professional windsurfer entered the picture, he realized what was going on. He didn't mind her dating other guys. They weren't like official or anything like that, but what he did mind was all the duplicity, I guess. She hadn't been straight up honest with him from the get-go, and that, as they say these days, was a huge red flag. I absolutely cannot picture my dad breaking up with some smoking hot beach babe. Like, I would absolutely need to see that to believe it. But either way, they stop seeing each other and Dad eventually moves back to Cincy and starts what became our family. And now cut to 1994. I'm 6, my little brother is 3, and for my dad, the memory of Blondie and her weird, deceptive love triangle was a distant one. Then one day, he opened up a newspaper and there she was. He said that he didn't recognize her at first, to the point that he just thought the name was a coincidence. But nope, there was no coincidence. The woman in the newspaper was the very same one he'd briefly dated while in California, and her name was Dana Sue Gray. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the name, Dana Gray murdered 3 older women in early 1994 and used their credit cards to go on shopping sprees. Once she realized that there was a manhunt for her, she cut all her blonde hair off and dyed it black, but the cops still caught up with her and she was sent to prison for murder. Dad said it was obviously very shocking, that he felt deeply for the families of those affected, but that he never felt like he was ever in any danger. I guess he just didn't fit her victim profile, or whatever the cops might call it, and she obviously wasn't ready to kill by that point because she waited 12 years to do it and killed 3 in as many months. But then, what my dad said creeped him out so much was that he actually wasn't all that surprised. He was surprised Dana had killed anyone. That was definitely a shock to him, but it was the way she did it that seemed very in character, so to speak. Dad said that, especially toward the end of their relationship, it became obvious that Dana simply didn't think that rules should apply to her. She seemed to have this idea that she could do whatever she wanted and then just get away with it, possibly on account of her good looks. Dad said it was scary to think that this irritating but very minor personality disorder had basically grown and grown until one day Dana thought that she could murder old women, then go on shopping trips with their credit cards, and the law just wouldn't catch up to her. It makes me think that psychological stuff like that is almost like a cancer. You either deal with it when it's small and manageable, or you let it grow and spread until one day it's just far too late to do anything about it, and what used to be one tiny flaw has taken them over completely.